Audience member one, audience member two, say hello.
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 Baseball, over the past decade, has spiraled out of control spending-wise. In 2015, on opening day, 22 out of the 30 teams opened up with a payroll of at least $100 million. Now take that back 20 years ago, and you're looking at teams that opened up with payrolls of 20 or $30 million. And there are teams that are extremely high spenders, like the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers, that spend somewhere north in the area of $250 million a year on players and on their team. This has created an unfair advantage in baseball, and the result of that is that baseball prices have skyrocketed to a record height, and baseball has become so expensive that it will collapse on itself because it simply became too expensive. Players like Max Scherzer, David Price, Johnny Cueto, and Miguel Cabrera, who have all had record-setting contracts, have caused baseball to skyrocket because they can request large amounts of money to play in a certain area, and the commissioner's office has not set a salary cap or anything like that for teams, so teams can spend high value amounts on players to make their organization better. Now, this is why baseball needs a salary cap like the NFL and like the NHL have. The NHL, for example, has a salary cap of $68 million per team. That is, $68 million is the amount of money that the NFL team can spend, the NHL team can spend on the amount of players on their roster. That money goes to signing free agent players and paying salaries for players that are currently on contract. Now, the $68 million is universal across the entire league, so there's no one team that has more of an advantage than another team. This ensures that NHL teams can't sign a whole host of star players and make themselves more competitive than other players, make themselves more competitive than other teams. And the NHL has something similar with an NFL cap that's going to be $168 million this year. Now, one thing that baseball can do to focus this is limit the amount of money that a free agent can be paid. Free agents like Max Scherzer, who can sign for $220 million with the Washington Nationals, are driving up the price of baseball as it is, and it's become really expensive to have a baseball team that's going to be competitive if teams like the Nationals and the Tigers and the Yankees and the Dodgers can afford to field a team of all-stars, that have a payroll north of $200 million. So with the installment of a salary cap, you can, in a sense, make baseball cheaper, and baseball can last longer, because at the current freight train rate that baseball's running, it'll become so expensive that it'll collapse on itself, and ownership can no longer be able to afford it. And with the new television contracts that are worked in with cable, right now it's sort of sustainable for the next 5 to 10 years. But as the media market moves toward Netflix and choosing which channels you want to watch, cable companies will start to drop sports, and that'll be more focused on prepay as it is during the season. And the cable contracts will peter out, and free agent signings that will have to be paid will be footed by the owner's pocket, and in a sense, they won't be able to pay it anymore because the money stops flowing in, and the teams will be losing $200 to $300 million a year at that pace. So without the salary cap that baseball needs, baseball will spiral into nothingness, and it will just run itself out.
That should be